Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Um, this is a quick video. Well, I like to say it's a quick video. Could probably go 30 minutes or longer. But something I have had a problem with for quite a while, and just recently, in the past couple of days, it's really been frustrating me. I wanted to talk about it, and you know, which doing a video like this seems to be posh these days, but there's a few people that do videos like this that I like watching because I like their perspective, and and I agree with what they're talking about. So I was thinking there's probably a few people that I know that might agree with me, and so I'm kind of giving this a shot. And now I'll get to what the hell I'm talking about. I find myself in a position where I need to buy a decent work coat. I've got lots of coats. I've got coats that are pretty expensive that I've bought over the years. Lots of leather jackets, regular, waist length, full length leather jackets, Australian Outback dusters. Just a lot of expensive coats, but I don't have a decent work coat. And certainly not anything that is usable in cold weather. And the older I get, this year I turned 59, and most people would see it if they saw it online. I've been 39. I've turned 39 for the past 10 years in a row. That's the joke. But the reality is I'm 59. I'm almost 60. I've been around a little while, seen a lot. And I am my age fully encompasses Generation X, which Generation X starts from 1965 to 1980. And I was a 1965 baby. So that's my generation. And always talk about jumping off on tangents. I find myself needing a work coat. Got plenty of dress coats, plenty of just normal everyday coats, but not a good work coat. And to me, a good work coat is going to be something that is tough. Like my Timex watch. I have had this Timex Expedition for a long time now. And it has been to hell and back and to hell again and back again. And it's like the old saying with Timex was, takes a licking and keeps on ticking. This Timex hasn't died. I have had diesels. I have had fossils. I have had, expensive. What was the other one that I had? Not a Rolex, but I can't remember it, but a real expensive brand. And they just die. I've had so many watches that I paid a ton of money for die. But this old Timex Expedition just keeps on going. Some things are worth the money. Some things are just hype. So I need a coat. And I need something that's tough. And what I have always known traditionally to be tough coats, again, being a kid of the 70s and the trucker era, convoy, trucker coats, which were a waxed canvas, usually waxed canvas. You can get them insulated. They're usually pretty weatherproof because they are wax canvas, usually beeswax, and probably paraffin wax. I don't know. I know beeswax is commonly what's used. And there's something that can be reproofed over time, like the same way, like my duster is a, excuse me, little itch. My duster is an Australian Outback. It's an oilskin. And you can, buy the reproofing cream and you can reproof them. So it just adds to the longevity. It protects the material. Make sure that they will remain waterproof. Excuse me, a little bit of the hiccups. And they're expensive, but they last. I've had that duster. I want to say almost 30 years now. Same thing with my full-length leather. I can't remember the manufacturer on it, but I bought it a million years ago at the Bangor Mall at Wilson's Leather. And that coat has held up, and that also had insulated liners where there was a big full-length black leather jacket. And it's lasted me. I've carried it with me forever. It's like a family heirloom now. Dump truck going by. And I remember at the time when I bought them, they were expensive. They were expensive, and I had the rationale, I've been a guy that has always believed in you get what you pay for. And that's only because I have bought enough cheap stuff and had it just fall apart in front of me almost immediately to go, that wasn't worth it. I don't care if I just saved $20 on that. Now here I am. I need the thing to be working, and it's falling apart. It's junk. But I saved $20. Well, what did you really save? Now you started a project. The thing that you bought, there's a dragonfly like messing with me. The thing that you bought just failed completely. You're mid-project. Now you got to go run out and buy something right now so you can finish. And it's going to have to be a knee-jerk purchase because you're in a position where you got to, you got to get the job done. And as you just spent that extra $20, now you've spent more in going out and having to buy it twice. And if you're going to try and get your money back for the piece of junk that you bought, you got to go through that process to try and get your money back. And it becomes a big hassle. It just wasn't worth it. And I find that a lot. I mean, I remember harping on my daughter about that. I was like, sweetheart, you're going to get what you pay for most of the time in life. Every once in a while, do you get, a deal? Yeah. Every once in a while, you get a deal. But I have found that to be the exception, not the rule. And that's just me personally. If you're different and you buy El Cheapo stuff all the time and works out great for you, then, good. I'm glad you're saving money. But, I like buying something that I can depend on for years. I don't want to have to keep buying it. So I started this process of looking for a waxed canvas or waxed cotton jacket that was a work jacket. You say either a trucker's jacket, a field jacket, that's one of the other things they call, like a barn jacket or a ranch jacket. They go by a bunch of different names, but, the end result is the same as what you're looking for. You're looking for a good work jacket. Something that's warm, something that's tough, and something that will repel water. And that's typically waxed canvas jackets. So I start looking for those. And when you do something that is kind of, the posh thing these days, which is to, I don't say posh, but it's what most everybody does nowadays, pull up Amazon. What can I find on Amazon? You pull up Amazon looking for these coats, and you'll see a bunch of stuff. One of the things you'll see is companies that make a coat. You look at the coat and go, geez, that looks like a nice looking jacket. Then you look at it and you go, who makes it? And it's this word that it looks like someone took a bunch of Scrabble letters, put them in a bag, shook it up, and then just scattered it on the table, and then took them and lined them up, and whatever that jumbled mishmash of letters is, that's the name of our company. And you can't even pronounce it because it's nonsensical. That's what you see as the manufacturer name or the company name of so many products that you will find on Amazon. And it's ridiculous. It's stupid. It's like, why don't you just say, just call it blanket. We don't give a damn what you call us. Just call us anything. Just buy the product. Okay? Comes from China. It comes from, India, Indonesia, Bangladesh, Taiwan. it comes from somewhere other than where you are. We don't care what you call us, just buy the product. And here comes the dump truck again, I think. He's moving a little faster this time. He's lighter. There he goes. It's working man. Working hard. As I was saying. Yeah, so it's just stupid. It's incredibly stupid to me. But that's what's all over Amazon and a lot of websites like it. Right? And so I got to a point where, I really want to, if I'm going to spend the money, I really want to spend my money on something made in America. Something I know that at least has some quality to it. Which, that's what that used to mean. Made in the USA used to mean quality. Okay, it really did. It used to mean quality. Stuff was well made, right? I go back, and I don't know if I've mentioned this before. If I have, I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself. But when I was a kid in the 70s, 60s and 70s, I was a real little kid in the 60s, things were made here. If I needed a coat or needed jeans or things like that, my parents would have gone to, Sears and Roebuck, or what was the other one? There was another catalog that everybody bought from when I was a kid. Can't believe I can't think of it. We used to have department stores like Woolworths and Zayres and things like that. Probably everything that they bought from me was made in the USA back then. And I remember a song that was about, Indian reservations. I want to say it was Paul Revere and the Raiders. And like I said, if I've mentioned this before, I apologize. I've been punched, kicked, and even shot in the head. So sometimes I kind of... but I've got it together, trust me. Just sometimes I forget. It wasn't Paul Revere and the Raiders. I don't know. Maybe it was. But I think it was about the song about Indian reservations, right? Cherokee people. And one of the lyrics in the song was, all the things we made by hand nowadays are made in Japan. And that was back in the early mid-70s. And that was because, if I remember correctly, after World War II, in an attempt to help the Japanese recover from the devastation of the war, we agreed to buy a lot of their products to help boost their economy so that they could rebuild. So all of a sudden we had this big influx, right, somewhere towards the end of the 50s and through the 60s into the 70s, somewhere in there. I don't know when the deal was made or when it really, then the floodgates got open. But all of a sudden everything was made in Japan. And then after that, it seemed like that was the real, that was the kickoff for that. The floodgates were open, and now everything was made in India, everything was made in the Philippines, everything was made in Taiwan, everything was made in Bangladesh, and made in Mexico. Right? We had a lot of things that were made in Mexico. Stuff that was made in South America. And then we get to China. Nowadays, almost everything is made in China. I have, a lot of you know that know me, that know that I have spent a lot of time on the island, worked at businesses on the island. And when I say island, for those of you that don't know, I'm talking about Mount Desert Island, and no, it's not Mount Desert Island, just so you know. That's dumb. I'm going to go off on a little rant here, but when Samuel de Champlain, who I did a book report on when I was a kid, when he was in there mapping that area, when he looked up on top of like the mountains and saw all that pink granite, from the water it looked like sand, So it was like, the island with the mountains or the deserts, right? And then so the translation becomes Mountain Desert Island. He did not look up on top of the mountains and see a hot fudge sundae. So it is not Mountain Desert Island. Get it straight, please. That's one of those things that makes my eye twitch. But on that island now, because of Acadia National Park, it has become a huge tourist area. And it's almost pathetic to see how many tourists flood in there. And they flood all the shops in downtown Bar Harbor and buy up all these little trinkets. Anything that says something stupid like Baja Ba, right? There's not many people that talk like that. Oh my God, this is a whole different thing that I can talk about, right? This hokey Maine accent that really doesn't exist unless you are like this 1% fringe in an area in Maine that are on the coastline. The rest of us don't talk like that. But anyways, people will flood that place all season long and buy up every stupid little trinket they can buy. And the funny part is that, the stuff that might be displayed that says Made in Maine, there might be some of that in there, but people will see like one display that says Made in Maine, like something that was actually made here. But everything else in the store, made in China. It's made in China, you morons. And you're buying up like, ooh, I got this from Maine. No, you didn't. You got it from China. So, again, on a tangent. Everything is, so much crap is just made in China that is shipped over here. So what was I talking about? I was looking for a jacket. So I'm looking for a jacket. I'm looking for a jacket on Amazon. And like I said, you get those company names that are just ridiculous. But you look at the jacket, you go, that looks like a waxed canvas jacket. It's insulated. And then you go to look at it. And like I said, it's made in some other country. So I'm not interested. So then I'm looking, and in this search, I see Wrangler. And I go, well, the Wrangler is an American company. And it was a shirt. And it was something like the one I have under here. This is like a shirt jacket. It's made by Ridgeline. But it was like a shirt jacket thing Wrangler made. And I looked at where it's made, country of origin, where it's made, Bangladesh. Now, that's Wrangler. Wrangler to me means Levi's. Levi's to me means way back. So that kind of surprised me. So that kind of led me to look at some other things. I'm wearing a vest. Company name is Wolverine. Wolverine. Where is this company? Where are these things made? Well, the company is from Michigan. Manufacturing began in Michigan. The majority of Wolverine's products are made in manufacturers include China, Mexico, Guatemala, Bangladesh, the Dominican Republic, and Vietnam. Wolverine has offices in the United Kingdom, France, Netherlands, Germany, and monitor its manufacturing in Europe. But those were the places that this comes from, not the USA. So that's Wolverine. This is a Justin hat. Justin, right? They were big sponsors for the rodeos, right? And for all things Western, Justin boots, Justin hats. Justin hats, made in Mexico, not in the United States. What else can I look at? Ridge cut. And I like ridge cut stuff. Ridge cut, I like the stuff, its quality, how it's made. It seems to be rugged. I've had real good luck with it. And you can buy it at Tractor Supply, which Tractor Supply is one of those places. It has that feel of the quintessential Americans, out on a tractor getting the job done, plowing the fields and doing the work. Tractor Supply. Ridge Cut, which I do have some boots from them too. This says the footwear is made in the United States. So on Ridge Cut, I found in the United States, available at Tractor Supply, at least for the boots. The clothes, I'm not 100% sure on. When you think about things like Levi's to me that's one of the oldest brands I can remember when it comes to clothes. That's the earliest brand of clothes I can ever remember is Levi's. Levi's I'm just going to say a few. Outside of the United States, Japan, Turkey, Italy, other countries, Bangladesh, India, Egypt, Sri Lanka, Vietnam, Indonesia. So as I'm looking for these coats, of course, one of the things that comes up, and I think it's probably because of a TV series, and which I got accused of looking like one of the people in it, or being like one of the people in it, at least to a certain degree. But one of the things that came up in my search was a company called Filson. And Filson makes a great coat. And let's see, Filson, they have been a company in this country since 1897. Filson. They make some really good waxed canvas jackets. One that's real popular because of a TV show, Yellowstone. Filson. United States. They have a place where they make stuff here in the United States, but some of the stuff you buy from them, some Filson products are manufactured in China, in India. Filson's manufacturing partners, as they're called, use Filson materials to ensure that all products meet their standards. So, even Filson, right? That's a long-time American company making work jackets. Nowadays, even their stuff is made in China, or at least to some degree. So, I mean, I'd be going down this rabbit hole and just looking, and I think you would be very hard-pressed to find any product. And if there is one, by all means, let me know. I will applaud it. If it is 100% from start to finish made in the USA. That used to mean something. Made in the USA used to mean something. It used to mean value and quality. I mean, that Filson jacket, $300. I saw some of those Filsons in there for $500 a jacket. So I can pay $500 for a jacket that may have been made in China, or I can go on Amazon and pay $62.50 for a jacket that looks almost the same. It was also made in China, right? You're going to hope that you're paying for quality there, right? That's the thing. When you pay a lot of money for something, like I said before, you get what you pay for. When you pay a lot of money for something, you expect it to be good quality. You expect the manufacturer is going to stand behind it, either with a really good return policy or a good warranty, where they will replace if they cannot repair things, kind of like what LL Bean did. And I bet if I look up LL Bean now, I always thought they were 100% made in the USA, but I bet if you dig deep enough, sad to say, and that's a Maine company. I mean, but at least, no matter what you bought from them, I remember when my daughter was little, And we bought her backpack for school from them, and it's first time the zipper got pooched, because kids are kids. They bring it back. We'll replace the zipper in it. And so that's what you pay for. When people say, oh, the LL Bean stuff's expensive. Well, yeah, but guess what? She had that backpack forever. And as a matter of fact, I'm sure that we passed that on, like donated it, and it's probably still alive today. Right? Because some companies and things used to be made to last. My uncle had a telephone that we used when we were kids. And it was that old black, rotary dial phone. And I think I ran the numbers on the one that he had. And that thing was made in the 1940s. It was made in the 1940s, and he still had it in the 70s, and I think into the 80s. And I think it was set out in the garage as like just a thing that was old that was kept. And when I put phone lines to the wires to it, the thing pulled up a dial tone. And that was in I think somewhere in the 90s that I did that. But this thing was made in the 40s. It still worked. I can't tell you how many times as a kid that phone was slammed. That used to be a big thing that people don't do anymore, because the thing you hold in your hand cost $1,000, and your whole life is in there, right? But you get mad if I just slam those down, bang, and they made a nice big noise. The thing still worked. Took a huge punishment, decades and decades and decades and decades of use. It still works. I think back to that phone. I remember that he would get mad at us when me and my cousins were kids. If we took, because we grew up in Brewer, Maine. And in Brewer, Maine, we have 989. Bangor had like 942, 947, 945. But in Brewer, all we had was 989. So if you had to call a friend of yours in Brewer, whose number was like, say, 989, 9786, you were there at that phone going 9, 8, 9, right? 9, 8, 7. Take you forever to dial the number, right? But you get it dialed, and then you put the phone up, and you're ready to talk to your friend, and you hear beep, 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 beep. Damn! Hang the phone up. Pick it up again. 9, 8. So your finger would get sore. I remember trying to get a hold of friends sometimes and just calling around the neighborhood. My finger would get sore, to the point where you grab a pencil or something and you start using the pencil to dial the number. Well, there goes the pencil made marks on the phone. Uncle flip out about that. No more doing that. Use your finger, you don't use it. So, that's why kids would hop on their bike and go ride to their friend's house and see if they were there, because sometimes people were just on the phone, and that's the way it used to be. Everything you worked for. This country used to work more than it does now. And when I say work, I mean, people say, well, I have a job, but what do you do? Well, I answer phone calls for this place, or it used to be the only people that answered phone calls was the operator. And when you dialed O, you got an operator. It was, operator, can you help me connect this call? And that's what they did. Well, now everybody has people working phones and doing online work and online customer service, which most of the time sucks. There's no more, handshake, look in the eyes, an agreement with someone nearby you. So if you have problems with it, you can go back and be face-to-face with them again and solve the problem, work it out. There's no loyalty anymore. You're dealing with some, person somewhere in this world. They don't have to be in the United States. Their customer service could be based out of Ireland or out of, some other country somewhere in this world. And they have no connection to you. They don't care. But, so I guess where I'm going with all this is that I think it's sad. And I know what happened on my watch, my generation's watch, Generation X, 1965, 1980. that was where it really started to take a dive. Everything turned. Everything turned on our watch. That's my opinion. Um, I believe it has been said, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I've heard it from what's seemingly are reliable sources. And it makes sense to me, knowing what I've experienced in my almost 60 years now. The Generation X has seen more changes and adapted to more changes than any other generation in the history of mankind, and likely will be in the future as well. Because, I mean, we've gone so far now. Our next step is, AI, which is a danger. I mean, nobody watched the Terminator. And then the next thing will be out in space. Other than the ocean floor, I think we've explored pretty much everything there is to do. So I've seen a lot. And I've seen a lot of changes, and a lot of changes that ain't good. I wish that as a country we would bring things back. Because right now, I mean, every time, I know here in the state of Maine, I'm sure there's a lot of people from other states that would say probably similar things, because it seems to be a national thing, is that every time some big business, a big company, like a manufacturer of some product that wants to do business here in Maine, they'll say, we want to do business in your state, and the state is just not receptive to it. And the reason for that is because so many of the people, whenever you try to create another manufacturing thing here in the state of Maine, and create new jobs, is people say, not in my backyard. They don't want it in their backyard. We don't want the noise pollution. We don't want the pollution. We don't want the traffic. We don't want the clearing of the land to build the buildings. We don't want, for whatever reason, not in my backyard. That's what's said. So you don't want it in your backyard. And that seems to be a trend, kind of all over the place, pretty much, except for a few parts of this country. But for the most part, that seems to be the trend. But everybody is okay with buying products where that's being done in somebody else's backyard. Where now we have no control over the quality of what's done. Where here we have some control. When we're buying outside this country, we don't have any control. We don't have any say over there. So they could be polluting the hell out of the environment, which will eventually have a problem for everybody. They can be business practices which are incredibly shady, that have almost no regulation. A lot of times child labor, right? Child labor, slave labor. There's all kinds of really bad things that happen. But everybody seems to, not everybody, I don't like speaking in absolutes, I try to stop myself every time. So many people, they're fine with that, as long as it's not in your backyard, right? As long as you're all set and you feel okay about, it's okay if someone else's life is trashed by this, so you can have that, that bathrobe, that nice thick quilted bathrobe, or that new can opener, or that new coffee maker, or whatever the hell it is that you're buying, that's made somewhere else. And Americans seem to be fine with that. I got a question for you. What do you think is going to happen? And you hear a lot of people nowadays that are saying, "Oh, this whole thing is going to turn to hell. This is going to be a big shit show in this country. Things are going to go to hell fast. Infrastructure is going to be gone. You're going to have to, store food, store this, store that." Okay, I'm not even going to get into the political aspect of that. I'm going to stay right out of the political thing. And for anyone that says that that's not going to happen, there's lots of things that are just a matter of time. Asteroids hitting this Earth, matter of time. And it's happened before, right? We know that. But here's the thing, is everyone's, one of the big fears nowadays is an EMP detonated above the country and it shuts the lights off, right? Just destroys our infrastructure, and everybody is going to be, whatever food you got, and all of the things that we hear that are scary. right? Take people out of the equation. Take politics. Take, world relations and, globalism. Take all of that out of the equation and think about this. I was reading an article about solar flares, which I read about these when I was a kid, learned about them as a kid. And there was just a really big one that popped off the sun. And I remember the scientist was saying, luckily, when it happened, the sun was facing, where the side of the sun it happened on was facing away from Earth. And they said, if that same solar flare had happened while it was facing Earth, bzzzt, right? Same idea. I mean, if it isn't covered by a Faraday cage, it ain't going to power on again if it's electrical. That could happen any day. It could happen in the next 5 minutes. It could happen right now. And then what do we have? We are reliant on everybody else outside of this country instead of being reliant on us. When the settlers landed here, when the colonists landed here, and then the settlers that pushed out west to find some elbow room, and for all of my friends out in Arizona and Texas and other areas and that say, yeah, this is the Wild West out here. People are a little different out here. Remember where those people came from? They didn't sail in from the Pacific, okay? They all came from the East Coast, and they moved out. So the people that settled the Wild, Wild West were the people from the Wild, Wild East that had gotten tired of fighting all the wars that we were fighting, and they wanted to get some breathing room and get away from it. my little pet peeve. But, it was people that settled this country. One of my favorite sayings is that necessity is the mother of invention. And those people, a lot of them, they looked at what the Indians did, right? The Native Americans, they looked at what they did. And they kind of lived with the land as opposed to just living on it. I guess there's different ways of saying that. But the fact of the matter is that, they did things a little differently, but essentially the same. When the corn grew, they would, migrate near where the corn was. And when, like, the animals would be in season in a certain place, well, they'd move to where the animals were so they could hunt. And they would use, the things that grew out of the ground to make things that they needed. They would use the animals, all parts of the animals to make things that they needed. And then the settlers went out and did kind of the same thing, just a little different, because they had the knowledge that they brought with them for how things were done in Europe in those days. And they started, they could build a place to live. They could make fire. They could cut wood. They could grow plants. They could farm the land and animals, right, with livestock, so that they could give shelter, warmth, food, clothing. They would even make their own clothes. They learned to shear the sheep, spin the yarn, make the clothes, right, or make clothes out of some of the skins of the animals that you have. You used everything that nature gave you, and you provided for your family. And so that is, you invent ways to do that out of necessity. And so I guess where I'm going with a lot of this is that this country has lost that, in my opinion. And I'm gonna touch on that too. If anyone seeing this has any opinions on it, you can give them, as long as they're constructive, logic-based, reasonable. But if you're going to go off on some political rant or some, I don't know what the word would be today. I'm not someone that's politically correct. I am certainly not, I guess today's word would be woke. I don't do it. There was a time when I gave a shit what other people think. But as you get older, your give a shit factor starts to just drop right down to next to nothing. And all you really care about is just speaking your truth and getting to the realities of life. Not the bleary-eyed, Jesus, it should be this way. Can't we all just get along? Right? It's just not going to happen. But I'm not going to get into that. I'm just not going to get into it. I'm going to stay focused on this, which is my point here being is that we need to be self-sufficient the way people used to be, and self-sufficient as a country. We can't be this reliant on neighbors. Imagine if everything that you used to keep your family together, your home life together, you were reliant on your neighbors for that. Somehow you're generating money, but everything that you need to get by, to survive with, you're getting from your neighbors. Well, imagine if your neighbors are gone, or imagine that you have a falling out with your neighbors, and now no one's giving you those things to take care of yourself with. What are you going to do? How are you going to feed your family? How are you going to keep them warm? How are you going to keep shelter? How are you going to do that? You need to be self-sufficient to a degree, and we as a country need to be self-sufficient, at least for the basics, all of the basics. That's my belief anyway. And it's sad that we are, not only are we not that, I think we have gone so far away from that it is more than dangerously far away from that. It's incredibly dangerous and stupid far away from that. So how do we get back to it? Well, that's a long road. I don't have all the answers. But maybe a start could be, obviously it's going to have to be changes in state, local, in federal government to encourage U.S. manufacturing. In doing that, we hear all the time about the middle class and how it's eroding, the erosion of the middle class. And even lower class, how it's getting so bad and people are so economically depressed. Well, it's because there's no good jobs. Every time someone wants to create them, you hear, not in my backyard, and there we are now ordering those things that we need from Amazon, from some other place. And that needs to change. In my opinion, that needs to change. We need to start making things here again. And we can do it in a way we've learned, we're smarter than we used to be. We know how to do it so that it is ecologically much more friendly to the environment. We know ways to use resources smarter, more efficiently. We can probably make those things better than we ever were able to make them before. Why we're not doing that, I don't know. There's a reason that's probably bigger than my understanding. I have my thoughts, but again, that's just that. But I think that we should be encouraging that. Again, bring that back in this country. Because, and people say, well, can't we all just, politicians say all the time, I'm going to bring both sides together. You're not going to bring both sides together. There's no real common ground to do that anymore. But if all of a sudden we get back to more of a community environment where, people are working together more, having to face each other more, because the way that this separation is happening, because everything, social media is to blame, technology is to blame, everything is creating a divide. I think ever since the Civil War, that was this country's big separation. If this country is a perfect union, we did it to form a more perfect union and start a marriage of different ideologies. The Civil War was like our separation in the marriage. And ever since then, we came back together again and we said, oh, we're going to make a go of it. But I think ever since then, we have been slowly gravitating apart the way a lot of marriages go. And I think, to a degree, hopefully this doesn't happen, but one of the ultimate solutions will be a national divorce, right? Secession from the union. One side, you do your thing, we're going to do our thing, and go our separate ways. You take your stuff, we'll take our stuff, and you do your country, we're going to do our country. And I think ultimately that's where this is heading. But I think that one of the ways to stem that is to bring people back together again through commonality. I don't know if that's a word. I should know that. And that is, We all face the same things, and we all face each other. We face each other at work every day, right? We face each other at the market every day. Your stuff isn't delivered to your house, so you just open the door, grab it, and go back inside and don't interact with people. You got to work with your coworkers every day at work. You got to find a way to make it happen, so people can get back to the way it used to be. That even if you had a political difference, you could voice those differences and still be friends. You know, I remember a reporter or someone or an author, a writer that wrote one time about Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill. They said that he was saying that, and you used to see it, that Reagan and O'Neill would have pretty vigorous debates with one another to the point where you'd think they probably just hated each other. But then the insiders would tell you that, you know, at the, White House or Capitol cafes or local restaurants, you could see Ronnie and Tip having dinner together and drinks and laughing and joking. And that used to be the way it was. You could have a difference and you could still be friends. And I think that separation was what's caused a lot of that. And getting back to one of the ways we can bring all of us back together again is that commonality in work and taking pride in what you do, taking pride in what you make, and, taking pride again and proud to be made in the USA by Americans. And I think that if we could start promoting that, and if, some type of website, because everything is website based nowadays, something could be designed where if you want to go there, if you're someone like me that I want to buy an American-made product that was made by a company that is based in America, company that is owned by Americans, because just because the company's in this country does not mean it's owned by Americans. It can be owned by some other country. That could be where it's owned, and don't even get me started on other countries buying property in the U.S. I don't know how that was ever allowed. Should never be allowed. We should take our property back. Nobody outside this country, no other country should be able to buy property in this country, in my humble opinion. And that's not up for debate. But in the product that is made here solely. It's not, assembled somewhere else in some other country. The natural resources are from here. It's made here, and if it's a natural resource that we don't have here, right? Like, I don't know if we have rubber trees here for all the rubber that we use, but just as an example, that might be something that we would have to get from other nations. We should be able to trade for those things. Trade some resource that we have that they need for a resource that they have that we need. I suppose it would be okay to buy those resources. But it should be American. Comes that hard work and due to get in that dump truck. Yeah, oh, he's chugging it now. He's pushing it because he's freighted. He's loaded with gravel. Makes a different sound when he's coming in as opposed to when he's leaving. It needs to be made here, and I think that you can. It's reasonable to say that you could buy the resources if you didn't have a commodity to trade with, but I mean that's how we used to do it, right? That's how maybe a trapper or a hunter that would collect his furs would go into town and he would trade those furs for an axe that he needs. Maybe he needs a new hatchet. He needs some salt. He needs some blankets. Whatever he needs, he trades for it. I got this. You guys need that? Great. I need what you have. Let's trade. And get back to that. And I think if there was a company that put together a website and where people really started to get behind having things made in America again, a website where that's it. Anything that's on this website for sale, it has been vetted, verified that this is 100% made in the USA by a company in the USA that's owned by Americans, and that the work is all the assembly and the production is done by Americans, so it benefits American families. It gives good American jobs with good insurances, good health care, things like that, and promote that. So you know that you can go to this one website and know that what you're buying is somehow contributing to this country, to the people that live here, that work here, that have to try and survive here, that need to take care of their families. And the money stays here. It doesn't go overseas. And then, if everything goes to hell, we'll at least have the people that know how to make these things here. So if we have to rebuild from scratch, we have people that know how to do it, that are here. That's where I say it's dangerous. We need those people and those craftsmen here, at least making all of the basics that we need for human survival. All needs to be made here, somehow, some way. Necessity is the mother of invention. And so that's just my little rant. I don't know where I'm going to be able to find my coat at the end of all this, to kind of come back around. I don't know where I'm going to be able to find my coat that is 100% made in the USA. It probably doesn't exist, and I will probably have to buy something that is a mishmash, or the closest proximity that I can come up with to what I'm looking for. And unfortunately, a lot of times that's real expensive stuff. It really is, because again, you get what you pay for. But like I said, what I'm talking about is not unheard of. When I was a kid, my godfather, Tom Woodrow, I believe he worked at the shoe factory down on Hancock Street in Bangor, Maine. Back when Hancock Street was the street of ill repute. There was a time when Hancock Street, my stepdad, Ed Gallan, he was a Bangor cop, and this was back when he had the beat. He was walking the beat in Bangor, downtown Bangor. And I remember one time he was driving me down Hancock Street, and he goes, "Look at this over here." And this was Hancock Street was a nasty little street at one time. But there was a shoe factory there, one of many that used to be in this state. And I remember it only because when I lived with my godparents, they lived on First Street. I used to go to St. Mary's School in Bangor, a private Catholic school. And we had St. Mary's Church, the rectory, the convent, everything was right there. And some guy that was a career arsonist was released from jail, and he decided to get some gas cans and go run through our church and burn probably the most beautiful church in Bangor to the ground. As a kid, I watched that burn from the school, looking out the window, watched our church burn. But right there on First Street in Bangor, where this is, now it's Community Health and Counseling, is on part of the property using some of those old buildings. There's a hill right there that kids could slide on. But the hill is not like a nice sliding hill that you go shoo, like this. This hill, for some reason, they made it like this. All the way down, it's like this. So we used to slide down that hill. And I asked my godfather, if I could have a sled. And I can kind of hear Eddie Murphy in my head now, and some of you will know what I'm talking about. He goes, "I'll get you something better than a sled." He goes, "Don't you?" So he brought me back this big square, rectangular sheet of shoe leather. And it was the stuff that I think the bottoms of the shoes were at least partially made with. This stuff was smooth as glass. And he drilled a hole in two of the corners, put a rope through it, tied a knot, so I had something to hang on to. And he goes, "Here you go." And it's kind of like in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation when Chevy Chase, when he sprays the stuff on, then goes down over the hill. Well, me on that piece of shoe leather, I went down over that hill. And like I said, it'd been one thing if it was straight down, but that hill on First Street, it's like that. I went down over that thing so fast on that piece of shoe leather that each one of those mounds, I would hit that like, something that would compress your spine by like 2 inches. It would boom, 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 boom down that hill at top speed. And then at the bottom of this particular hill, there were all of these, and I think they were maples. They were either maples or they were oaks. Great big trees this big around. And I ain't kidding you. I see one coming, and You know that moment when it hits you and you're like, and you realize, I'm going to smack into that tree head first. And you have like seconds to decide what to do. And you try your best effort, but it doesn't matter. Smack into that tree. You know, that always reminds me of the shoe industry that this state used to have. My family, a lot of my family members are from Caribou, or at least they used to live in Caribou. I don't think there's much up there anymore, and a lot of them have left. But potatoes was a big industry. It used to be Maine potatoes were the potatoes in this country, and we lost that. And now it's Idaho. And the other industry, obviously, my family was specifically in was lumber. Right? Our last lumber mill was right in Brewer, Maine. And right next to our lumber mill in Brewer was the brickyard. You know, we used to have a brickyard where they made the bricks and things right there. The lumber industry, we lost it. We lost it to Canada a long time ago. Gone. Maine lumberjacks, right? That wasn't that like a baseball deal, like the Maine Lumberjacks. Lumberjack was a big thing. Gone. So shoes, potatoes, lumber, and I think fishing. I think everybody's holding on to that by the tips of their fingernails, because that is there's always battles on the water with Canada about fishing rights. This state has now become a service state. Vacation land, the way life should be. Providing service for other people that come here to visit. That's what we've been reduced down to. We don't make anything here anymore. And that seems to be the case in a lot of other states around the country that used to be known for something, that used to make something. And their people took pride in that. You took pride in your work. You took pride in what your work provided that people needed. And everybody had a little common ground there. So that even if you might disagree with your neighbor on some things, you agreed with them at least on what you did every day to provide for your family, provide for your community. And, it was a different time, and that's gone now. And I believe, it is my humble opinion, that has a great deal to do with what's wrong. People ask all the time, what is wrong with this country? Right? Well, that's a big part of it. It's this endless ways that we find to separate ourselves. And I'm starting to believe that the divide, the crevasse is so great there, the gap is so great there that there's no way to bridge it anymore. That's my big fear, is at some point that we're just going to have to go our separate ways, the two different ideologies, and everybody survives on their own merit. And that'll be a secession. And I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. But I don't know if you agree with me. If you do, great. If you don't, great. That's your opinion. But like I said, I don't want to hear any rant and raving and political garbage. I won't listen to you. I will probably delete you. Or at least your comments. I won't delete you, but if all you're going to do is get aggressive and get argumentative and just want to fight like people do online, which the funny part is most of you that want to do that won't do it face to face. That again is another problem. It's one thing, people would shoot their mouths off and there's like there's someone credits Tyson with this quote, with one thing about social media is it's made people too comfortable saying stuff that would get you punched in the face. Back in the day, you get punched out for it. That's another problem with that, is that sometimes you say things that really cross lines with people, and it used to be they could keep you straight, but now, so don't do it with me. I'm not a fan of that. And if you're that upset by it, by all means, please wait till you see me in public before you say something to me. Don't lash out online. It makes you look like a punk. Believe it or not, it really does. Or at least the old school people like me, you look like a punk if you do it online. Don't do something that you won't say right in public. And if you just get nasty, I'm just going to delete your comments. I'm not going to, allow that rubbish. because that's not what this is about. This is about the basics of human needs and survivability in community. You need to take care of yourself. And that's a lesson that some of us are hard lessons learned. We get to a point where I know I have fallen. I have crashed to the point where, I feel like I spent a good portion of my life always worrying about everybody else and not myself. Always trying to run to the rescue of other people and, to be people's guardian angel, and put myself in harm's way. I think that's indicative of a lot of, good people, men and women, I think, tend to do that. If that is, if they legitimately put others before themselves. And some of us do that to a detriment. And I have certainly done that and put myself in a bad position where I needed, an angel to swoop in. And I can say after many, many years, I have had a couple of angels swoop in and save me. And, those angels take many forms, and good people that come into your life. And so what you do put out there comes back, but you need to take care of yourself. And that's something it's been a hard lesson for me to learn. And I'm learning it now. And luckily some angels have come along in recent years to help me in that path. And I don't know where I'm going with this, but to help take a load off of your angels, be more self-sufficient. Maybe take a harder road, not because it's harder, but because it's right. Don't take the road that's easy, because easy can leave you in a very bad spot. If all of a sudden those resources disappear and you don't know how to take care of it yourself. Parents, raise your children well, raise them right, raise them to know that there is a hard way to get through life, but it is a way. And if need be, you need to be able to do it. And just start doing things ourselves again, not relying on other people. As I don't know if I've said it in this video. If I have, sorry, but people that care about you, that starts in your home and then branches out to your immediate family, your community, your town, your city, your county, your state, your country. And as you go up that scale, the give a shit of people gets less and less, right? It gets watered down as it goes. So trust me when I say that people outside of this country, where you're getting all your stuff from, they really don't care about you. They do not care. Nor do the people that lead those countries. They don't care. So we need to be more self-sufficient as a company. We need to make made in the USA mean something again.